Have you ever wondered what happens when you cross someone who's given you their heart, soul, and unwavering loyalty? What if I told you that betraying an INFJ might be one of the biggest mistakes you'll ever make in your lifetime? Today, we're diving deep into the world of the rarest personality type, the INFJ, and exploring why breaking their trust isn't just harmful to them, but could become your biggest regret. Stick around because what you're about to learn might completely change how you view loyalty, relationships, and the quiet power that lies within these mysterious souls. Understanding the INFJ personality. What makes INFJs so special? Let's start with the basics, shall we? INFJs, often called the advocates or the counselors, make up less than 2% of the population. That's right, you're more likely to find a four-leaf clover than meet a genuine INFJ in your daily life. But here's the thing. When you do encounter one, you're meeting someone truly extraordinary. These folks aren't your average people. They're the ones who see straight through your soul, understand your deepest fears before you've even spoken them, and somehow manage to make you feel completely understood in a world that often feels cold and disconnected. It's like they've got this built-in radar for human emotions and motivations. The deep well of INFJ loyalty. Now, here's where things get really interesting. When an INFJ decides to trust you, and I mean really trust you, they're not just giving you access to their thoughts or their time. They're handing you the keys to their entire emotional kingdom. It's not something they do lightly, mind you. These individuals have usually been through enough life experiences to know that not everyone deserves their complete authenticity. They've learned the hard way that their intense, caring nature can be overwhelming for some people. So when they choose you, when they decide you're worth their loyalty, it's because they've seen something in you that they believe is genuine and worthy of their rare gift. Think of it this way. INFJ loyalty isn't like a casual friendship where you hang out when it's convenient. It's more like being adopted into their inner circle of maybe 3 to 5 people maximum. You've just become part of their chosen family, and they'll protect and support you with the same intensity they'd use to defend their own children. The sacred nature of INFJ trust. Here's something most people don't understand about INFJs. Their trust isn't renewable like a magazine subscription. It's more like a priceless antique. Once it's broken, you can try to glue it back together, but it'll never be quite the same again. When an INFJ trusts you, they're operating under the assumption that you understand the weight of what they're offering. They believe you recognize that their loyalty comes with their whole heart, not just convenient pieces of it. They're trusting you with their vulnerabilities, their dreams, their fears, and their unwavering support. This isn't just about keeping secrets or being reliable. It's about understanding that you're dealing with someone who processes relationships on a much deeper level than most people. They're not just thinking about today or tomorrow. They're considering how your relationship will evolve over years and decades. The depth of INFJ relationships. How INFJs love and connect. Let me paint you a picture of how INFJs approach relationships. Imagine someone who doesn't just want to know your favorite color or what you do for work. They want to understand what makes you cry at 2 a.m., what childhood memory still makes you smile, and what dreams you're too scared to say out loud. That's an INFJ for you. They're not interested in surface-level connections. Small talk might as well be torture for these folks. They crave depth, meaning, and authentic human connection in a way that can be both beautiful and intense. When they care about you, they're thinking about your well-being even when you're not around. They're the ones who remember that you have a big presentation coming up, that your grandmother's been sick, or that you've been struggling with a particular challenge. They carry pieces of your life with them because your happiness genuinely matters to their own sense of peace. The INFJ's emotional investment. Here's where things get really deep, and this is crucial to understand if you want to grasp why betraying an INFJ is such a catastrophic mistake. These individuals don't just care about you. They become emotionally invested in your growth, your success, and your happiness. They're the ones who'll spend hours helping you work through a problem, not because they have to, but because they genuinely believe in your potential. They see versions of you that you might not even see in yourself yet. They're cheering for your success behind the scenes, celebrating your victories as if they were their own, and feeling your pain almost as deeply as you do. This level of emotional investment means that when you're in an INFJ's inner circle, You're not just a friend, you're a part of their life's mission. They've decided that your well-being contributes to the greater good of the world, and they're willing to pour their energy into supporting that vision. The protective instinct. One thing that sets INFJs apart is their fierce protective instinct toward the people they love. These aren't aggressive people by nature, quite the opposite, actually. They're typically gentle, thoughtful, and prefer harmony over conflict. But mess with someone they care about, and you'll see a side of them that might surprise you. They become like mama bears protecting their cubs. They'll use their incredible insight into human behavior to shield their loved ones from harm, sometimes even before the loved one realizes danger is approaching. They're the ones who'll gently steer you away from toxic people, support you through difficult decisions, and stand by you even when others doubt your choices. What constitutes betrayal to an INFJ? The many faces of betrayal. Now, let's talk about what betrayal actually looks like through INFJ eyes, because this isn't always what you might expect. Sure, the obvious stuff counts: lying, cheating, breaking promises, or sharing their secrets. But for INFJs, betrayal can be much more subtle and complex than that. Sometimes it's the friend who suddenly becomes too busy to maintain the deep connection you once shared. Sometimes it's the person who takes their advice, finds success, and then acts like they did it all on their own. It could be someone who uses their empathetic nature as an emotional dumping ground without ever reciprocating the care. For an INFJ, betrayal often feels less like a single dramatic event and more like death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's the gradual realization that someone they trusted doesn't value the relationship with the same depth and sincerity that they do. Emotional manipulation and INFJs. Here's something that really gets to INFJs: emotional manipulation. Because they're so naturally empathetic and caring, some people think they can take advantage of these qualities. They assume that INFJs will always forgive, always understand, always give them another chance. This is a dangerous assumption. While INFJs are indeed forgiving by nature, they're also incredibly perceptive. They can usually spot manipulation from a mile away, even if they don't call it out immediately. They might give you the benefit of the doubt the first time, maybe even the second time, but they're keeping track and they're noticing patterns. When an INFJ realizes they're being manipulated, it's not just about the specific incident. It's about the fundamental disrespect for their character and the relationship they thought they had with you. It's about realizing that someone they trusted saw their kindness as weakness rather than strength. Taking their loyalty for granted. One of the fastest ways to betray an INFJ is to take their loyalty for granted. This might seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how often it happens. People get so comfortable with having an INFJ's unwavering support that they forget it's a gift, not a guarantee. It's the friend who only calls when they need something, the partner who expects emotional labor without reciprocation, or the family member who assumes the INFJ will always be there to clean up everyone else's messes. These patterns might not seem like betrayal to some people, but to an INFJ, they represent a fundamental misunderstanding of what the relationship means. The INFJ's response to betrayal. The initial shock and disbelief. When an INFJ first realizes they've been betrayed, the initial response is often shock and disbelief. Remember, these are people who choose their inner circle very carefully. They don't give their trust easily, so when it's broken, it genuinely doesn't compute at first. They might spend considerable time trying to understand what happened, searching for explanations that don't involve accepting that someone they trusted could hurt them so deeply. They're the types who'll replay conversations, analyze behavior patterns, and try to figure out where they misread the situation. This isn't denial in the traditional sense. It's their analytical nature trying to make sense of something that goes against their fundamental understanding of the relationship. They trusted their intuition when they let you in, so betrayal makes them question not just you, but their own judgment. The door slam phenomenon. Now we come to one of the most famous INFJ responses to betrayal, the door slam. This isn't an emotional outburst or a dramatic confrontation. It's something much more final and, in many ways, more devastating. The INFJ door slam is like watching someone calmly pack their bags and move to another country. One day you're part of their world, and the next day it's as if you never existed. They don't hate you. Hatred requires emotional energy they're no longer willing to invest. Instead, They simply remove you from their life with surgical precision. This isn't punishment or revenge. It's self-preservation. They've recognized that the relationship is fundamentally incompatible with their values and well-being, so they've made the decision to protect themselves by cutting off access completely. The withdrawal process. Before the door slam comes the withdrawal, and this phase can be particularly painful for both parties. The INFJ starts pulling back emotionally and physically. They stop sharing personal details, they become less available, and the depth of connection that once existed begins to evaporate. This withdrawal isn't usually sudden or dramatic. It's more like watching a flower slowly close its petals as the sun sets. The warmth and openness that defined your relationship gradually fades, replaced by polite but distant interactions. During this phase, some people don't even realize what's happening. They might notice the INFJ seems a bit quieter or less engaged, but they don't understand the significance until it's too late. The INFJ is essentially giving them time to prove that the relationship is worth saving, but they're not usually explicit about this test. Why betraying an INFJ will backfire. The loss of a rare connection. Let's be brutally honest here. If you betray an INFJ's trust, you're losing something you'll probably never find again. Remember, we're talking about less than 2% of the population. The chances of finding another person who'll offer you the same depth of loyalty, understanding, and genuine care are astronomically low. Think about it this way. You've just lost someone who probably understood you better than you understand yourself. Someone who celebrated your victories, supported you through failures, and believed in your potential even when you didn't. Someone who offered you a connection that most people spend their entire lives searching for. The tragedy is that many people don't realize what they've lost until it's gone. They take the INFJ's presence in their life for granted, assuming that kind of loyalty and support is easily replaceable. Spoiler alert, it's not. The ripple effect in your social circle. Here's something that might surprise you about betraying an INFJ. The consequences often extend far beyond your relationship with them. INFJs might be rare, but they're usually well respected within their social circles. They're often seen as wise, trustworthy, and genuinely caring people. When word gets out that you've betrayed someone like this, and it usually does, even if the INFJ doesn't actively spread the story, it raises questions about your character. People start wondering what kind of person hurts someone who's known for their loyalty and kindness. The INFJ won't usually badmouth you or seek revenge, but their close friends and family will notice their pain. They'll see the hurt in someone they care about, and they'll draw their own conclusions about your character. In many cases, you'll find yourself shut out not just from the INFJ's life, but from entire social networks, missing out on future growth and support. One of the most devastating long-term consequences of betraying an INFJ is missing out on the incredible support they could have provided throughout your life. These are people who genuinely invest in your growth and success. They are the ones who would have been there during your darkest moments and your greatest achievements. Think about the major life transitions, challenges, and opportunities that lie ahead in your future. Now imagine having someone in your corner who truly understands you, believes in you, and has the insight to guide you through difficult decisions. That's what you're giving up when you betray an INFJ's trust. They're not just fair-weather friends who are there for the good times. They're the ones who would have helped you become the best version of yourself, challenged you to grow, and supported you through whatever life throws your way. The long-term consequences. Living with regret. Let's talk about something that betrayers often don't anticipate. The long-term regret that comes with losing an INFJ's trust. This isn't the kind of regret that fades with time. If anything, it tends to grow stronger as you mature and begin to understand the rarity of what you lost. Years down the road, you might find yourself in situations where you desperately need the kind of support, understanding, and loyalty that the INFJ offered. You might go through relationships that lack depth, friendships that feel shallow, or face challenges that require the kind of insight only they could provide. That's when the full weight of your mistake hits you. You realize you had something precious and irreplaceable, and you threw it away for something temporary or insignificant. The regret doesn't just sting. It becomes a constant reminder of a choice you can never fully undo. The difficulty of rebuilding trust. Here's a hard truth. Once you've betrayed an INFJ, rebuilding that trust is nearly impossible. It's not because they're vindictive or unforgiving by nature. It's because they now have evidence that contradicts their original assessment of your character. Remember, INFJs trust their intuition deeply. When they first let you into their inner circle, it was because every fiber of their being told them you were trustworthy. Your betrayal doesn't just hurt their feelings. It makes them question their own judgment and intuitive abilities. Even if they wanted to trust you again, their self-preservation instincts would fight against it. They've learned that you're capable of hurting them deeply, and they're not willing to put themselves in that vulnerable position again. Missing life's important moments. One consequence that often hits betrayers years later is the realization of all the important life moments they'll experience without the INFJ's presence. Graduations, weddings, career achievements, personal milestones, difficult losses. All the moments when having someone who truly understands and supports you makes all the difference. The INFJ would have been there for all of it, celebrating your joys and comforting you through sorrows with a depth of care that's rare in this world. Instead, you'll navigate these experiences knowing there's someone out there who could have made them more meaningful, but who's no longer part of your life because of choices you made. The emotional toll on both sides. What the INFJ experiences. Let's not sugarcoat this. Betraying an INFJ causes them significant emotional pain. These are people who invested deeply in your relationship, who opened their hearts and shared their authentic selves with you. When that trust is broken, the pain runs deep. They don't just feel hurt about the specific betrayal. They feel the weight of misplaced trust, the disappointment of believing in someone who didn't live up to their faith, and the sadness of losing a connection they thought would last. They might even feel foolish for being so open and vulnerable with someone who didn't deserve it. But here's what's particularly heartbreaking. INFJs often blame themselves. They wonder if they were too trusting, if they missed red flags, or if they somehow brought the betrayal on themselves. This self-doubt can linger long after the relationship ends. The betrayer's hidden suffering. What many people don't realize is that betraying an INFJ often causes significant suffering for the betrayer as well, even if they don't recognize it immediately. Losing someone who offered unconditional support, deep understanding, and genuine care creates a void that's hard to fill. You might not realize how much their presence contributed to your emotional well-being until it's gone. The way they listened without judgment, offered insights that helped you grow, and supported you through difficult times. All of that disappears when they withdraw from your life. Many betrayers find themselves struggling with feelings of guilt and regret that persist long after the relationship ends. They might try to convince themselves that the INFJ was too sensitive or that the relationship wasn't that important anyway. But deep down, they know they lost something valuable. Recognizing the warning signs. When an INFJ starts pulling away. If you're currently in a relationship with an INFJ and you're starting to notice changes in their behavior, it might be time for some serious self-reflection. INFJs don't usually cut people off without warning. There are typically signs that something is wrong. Are they sharing less personal information than they used to? Do they seem less enthusiastic about spending time together? Have their responses become more polite but less warm? These could be signs that they're starting to withdraw emotionally. Pay attention to whether they're still seeking your advice or sharing their thoughts and feelings with the same openness. If an INFJ stops treating you as a confidant, it often means they're questioning whether you deserve that level of trust. The opportunity for course correction. Here's some hope. If you recognize these warning signs early enough, there might still be an opportunity to address whatever has damaged the trust between you. INFJs are typically fair people who appreciate honesty and genuine efforts to make things right. The key is approaching them with sincere accountability rather than defensiveness. Don't try to explain away your actions or minimize their feelings. Instead, take responsibility for whatever you've done to damage the trust, and be prepared to demonstrate through consistent actions that you understand the value of what you've put at risk. Remember, though, that this opportunity doesn't last forever. INFJs have their limits, and once they've made the decision to protect themselves by ending the relationship, reversing that decision becomes extremely difficult. Learning from others' mistakes. Common scenarios of INFJ betrayal. Let's look at some real-world examples of how people commonly betray INFJs, so you can avoid making the same mistakes. One common scenario involves the friend who treats the INFJ as an emotional dumping ground without reciprocating the care and support they receive. Another frequent pattern is the person who takes credit for ideas, opportunities, or success that the INFJ helped make possible. Because INFJs often work behind the scenes and don't seek recognition, some people assume they won't mind having their contributions overlooked. Then there's the classic scenario of someone who shares the INFJ's private thoughts, feelings, or secrets with others, either maliciously or carelessly. For someone who guards their privacy carefully and shares deeply only with trusted individuals, this kind of breach feels like a fundamental violation of who they are. The stories of regret. If you could sit down with people who've betrayed INFJs and ask them about their experiences years later, you'd hear remarkably similar stories. They talk about realizing too late what they had lost. They describe trying to find similar connections with other people and coming up empty. Many describe a persistent sense that something is missing from their lives, a kind of emotional depth and understanding that they can't seem to find elsewhere. They talk about moments of crisis or celebration when they instinctively wanted to reach out to the INFJ, only to remember that bridge had been burned. Some even describe it as a form of emotional homesickness, longing for a relationship that felt like home in a way that nothing else has since. Moving forward and prevention. How to honor INFJ loyalty. If you're fortunate enough to have an INFJ's trust and loyalty, here's how to honor that gift properly. First, recognize that their care for you isn't casual or easily replaceable. Treat their emotional investment in your relationship with the respect it deserves. Be consistent in your actions and words. INFJs pay attention to patterns, and they need to see that your behavior aligns with your stated values and commitments. Don't make promises you can't keep, and if circumstances change, communicate openly rather than making excuses. Reciprocate their emotional labor. While they might not need the same intensity of support that they offer you, they do need to feel that the relationship is mutual. Check in on them, remember important things in their lives, and offer your support when they're going through difficult times. Building lasting trust. To build lasting trust with an INFJ, consistency is key. They need to see that you're reliable not just in big moments but in small, everyday interactions. Follow through on commitments, be honest about your limitations, and don't try to be someone you're not to impress them. Respect their need for depth and authenticity. Don't try to keep conversations surface level or avoid discussing meaningful topics. INFJs connect through shared values, dreams, and philosophical discussions. They want to know who you really are, not just the version of yourself you present to the world. Give them space when they need it. INFJs require solitude to recharge and process their emotions. Don't take it personally when they need time alone, and don't pressure them to be social when they're not feeling up to it. The ripple effects of loyalty. How INFJs impact the world. Understanding why you shouldn't betray an INFJ goes beyond personal relationships. These individuals often have a disproportionate positive impact on the world around them. They're the ones who become counselors, teachers, advocates, and healers. They work behind the scenes to make their communities better places. When you betray an INFJ, you're not just hurting one person, you're potentially damaging someone who goes on to help many others. The emotional energy they have to spend healing from your betrayal is energy they can't direct toward their larger mission of making the world a better place. Think about it as an investment in the greater good. Supporting and protecting the INFJs in your life isn't just good for you. It's good for everyone whose lives they'll touch in positive ways. The network effect. INFJs might be rare, but they're often connected to networks of other caring, thoughtful people. When you demonstrate that you can be trusted with an INFJ's loyalty, you're also demonstrating your character to their broader network of friends and family. This can open doors to other meaningful relationships and opportunities. People who care about INFJs tend to be high-quality individuals themselves, the kind of people you'd want in your own inner circle. Conversely, betraying an INFJ can close these doors. Their network will witness how you've treated someone they care about, and they'll adjust their trust in you accordingly. Conclusion. Here's the bottom line. Betraying an INFJ isn't just morally wrong. It's one of the most self-destructive relationship mistakes you can make. You're not just losing a friend or partner. You're losing someone who offered you a rare gift of deep, authentic connection in a world where surface-level relationships are the norm. The regret that comes with this loss isn't temporary. It's the kind of regret that grows stronger with time as you mature and begin to understand what true loyalty and understanding actually look like. You'll find yourself in future relationships wishing you had the depth of connection you once shared with the INFJ you betrayed. But perhaps most importantly, betraying someone who offered you their authentic self and unwavering support says something about your character that you'll have to live with. It means that when faced with a choice between short-term gain and long-term integrity, you chose poorly. If you're currently in a relationship with an INFJ, treasure what you have. Protect it. Nurture it. Recognize that you've been given something that most people spend their entire lives searching for. Don't become another cautionary tale of someone who realized too late what they had thrown away. And if you've already betrayed an INFJ's trust, learn from the experience. Understand what you lost and why it happened. Use that knowledge to become someone worthy of deep, authentic relationships in the future. While you might not be able to repair the damage you've done, you can ensure you never make the same mistake again. The world needs more people who understand the value of loyalty, authenticity, and deep human connection. Don't be someone who destroys these rare gifts when you're lucky enough to receive them. The regret simply isn't worth it.